Okay.
What would you say is your biggest challenge with the writing style?
I don't have really a big challenge in my writing style because my professor led me to keep my own style because it's like different from Native Americans. It's different, but it's unique, so I just keep it. I think it's really good.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
What have you done to help ease the transition?
I have a lot of friends. They're Chinese, but they went to high school in American, so they not only speak Chinese, but they know a lot about culture thing and how to put through a lot of difficulties and differences. So they tell me a lot of things or tips I can do. For example, I don't know like what I should respond when people ask me what's going on. I just like thinking about what's going on, and then they just go away because it takes really a long time for me to respond, to think of an answer. So they tell me that you can just answer nothing much. So every time I just like nothing much. Like one of my friends just asked me, "Do you hate me?" Like every time I ask you what's going on, you're just like being really indifferent and say nothing much. So I know like some of their tips are wrong. So I just like doing the research by myself and ask them, and then I just try to like put through all the differences and go through the difficulties.
In terms of like writing or academics, do you think there's much of a transition? Do you have like peer tutoring? What do you do to?
Oh, I went to writing center every week. Yeah, the tutors are really good. One of my tutors, I went to his desk like every time. Her boyfriend is Chinese, so she's like really know about us, and she revise all the grammar mistakes and talk to me about like what's going on. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is the biggest difference between the writing styles here and where you're from?
I told Jessie before, and because like in American people are more like straightforward. I take an example of like borrowing money. If I'm American, if I want to borrow money and write down something, I will be like, I want to borrow money because, and then I say the reasons. But if I'm Chinese, I would say like, how was your work? How was your life? And now recently, are you good? What's going on? And how are you? And I want to lend money. And we say that like the most important thing, like finally. But American, they would say it first, like really pretty straightforward. So it's like different.
I also feel when you do that in the United States, just like saying, "Oh, how's everything going?"
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, what do you want?"
Yeah, they'll be really
like,
confused.
Yeah, you want something out of this.
Yeah.
So that's completely like different.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time.
Yeah, okay. Is that
So what would you say is your biggest challenge in the writing style here?
I think that the biggest challenge is being really straightforward and upfront about what I want to say. Because where I come from, we just go on a tangent, and we don't really delve into the main points until later on throughout the essay.
Okay, so it's like basically building up a
building up
relationship.
It's like building up the suspense.
That's awesome. What have you done to help ease the transition?
To ease the transition, well, as a WLP, I had to like write an essay pretty much every day, so I think that has helped a lot.
And so what is the biggest difference between the writing styles here and where you're from?
The biggest difference, as I said earlier, it's basically back home we would start off with a story, and then we would provide all this background and usually unnecessary information, but here we have to like jump down to the thesis and what we want to say really, really straightforwardly. So
Thank you for your time.
you too. Thanks. And hi, Marshall.